Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. Douglas Cardwell is a musician and sound healer. His musical background is top-notch. He's played with numerous symphonies, including the Houston and Detroit Philharmonics. Chance brought Douglas to New Mexico, where he is a master percussionist and the principal timpanist for the New Mexico Philharmonic. He also has a company called Lotus Sound Bath, where he combines his love of music with his passion to heal. Listen. Douglas, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us a little bit about your story.
Pat, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a practicing musician, professional musician, have been for 25 to 30 years or so, and started by just beating on pots and pans at home. I'm sure I drove my parents crazy, but fortunately, they didn't have the means, but somewhere found the way to, I got private lessons for my first year before I went into beginning band. And a long story short, it just took off. I really enjoyed it. It fit really well. Loved band in high school, played in a marching band and all of that. And ended up majoring in music. And from majoring in music, I got a music education degree actually, but just still love to play so much. And my professor in undergraduate school, he says, well, you need to audition for graduate school. I said, I'm still paying for loans for undergrad. I don't have the funds for grad school. So he says, auditioning is free. So I auditioned at 3 different institutions. Again, long story short, very special. I ended up going to a different school than the one that I actually auditioned at the beginning. 2 of those schools I was on the bubble, and they called down to Rice University and told that instructor about me. And I went down and ended up not playing for him, but they had an internship with the orchestra, and I played for the orchestra. He said, if the orchestra takes you to Houston Symphony for the internship, I'll take you, because I know those guys. And it ended up, I ended up going to Rice for my graduate studies. And playing with Houston Symphony for the internship, and then from there went to Detroit Symphony with a fellowship, and then ended up in New Mexico. I went into principal timpani job out here in the desert, and it's wonderful living out here. I never had been up to the Southwest beforehand.
The Southwest is a nice place to live, isn't it?
It really is, wide open.
But what's going on with the symphony here in New Mexico right now?
Well, with COVID, we are finding ways to go forward, as everyone is. And of course, no performances live in person with large groups, of course. The symphony here is doing videos, so we're having solos that we can submit and get those out to patrons. And also with some other groups that are in town. They're starting to reach out, and they're doing small group ensemble things. That's, once again, we're videoing them and sending them into a recording engineer that puts everything together. So yeah, very different.
Is the symphony going to be opening up again soon, do you think? Or
You know,
what do you think is going to happen there?
I'm one of those guys who really works hard in a practice not to, if I don't have a choice in it, to speculate when it may be. There's so much energy, and it can be draining. And I've done that before, and I'm not saying I never have those thoughts, but I do a lot better with flowing with what is and doing my part positively to create the change that I can on my behalf. So I don't know. We don't have a date when the symphony is going back. I know administration and the orchestra committee were working on safe methods and with venues of what could be possible. Yeah.
Well, I find it kind of interesting, actually, that the internet, in a way, opens up some new venues for artists all over the world.
Absolutely. Some people have been doing this before COVID, and they're extremely thriving now. And I myself, I don't mind teaching via video. Of course, I much, 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 much prefer to be in person, but I can morph pretty well and come up with different methods and formats to reach the students. I have a student in Boston, in different places in the country, and that's really working quite well. But definitely prefer to be in person.
Now, you have another business as well, don't you?
Absolutely. Somewhere along the way, I ended up playing crystal singing bowls and gongs for relaxation, meditation, and sound healing. And it fit me very well. I've had friends that say, you finally found out what you should be doing. And it stemmed out of, I had taken a leave of absence from the orchestra, actually, about 2 or 3 years ago. And that leave got extended, actually. And these are some bumps here where I got rear-ended by in an automobile, and I was stationary, and then I had to take a medical leave from the orchestra after that. And going through the therapy and taking time away from the orchestra, I had a couple of other things that went on that ended up being win-win situations that were, six entities were touched instead of just a win-win. And it dawned on me, I want to do this again. I don't care what it is. I don't care, but as long as I'm getting that sensation that I'm helping someone or many, I want to do that. And so that became my mantra and mission. Once again, I'm not putting, I need to play drums, I need to do this, I need to do that, putting myself in a bubble or a block so it's wide open as long as I'm serving. And because it felt great. And then, gosh, I had friends several years ago that had mentioned, have you had a sound bath? Or you really think you should be doing sound baths, which is Tibetan singing bowls or crystal singing bowls or just gongs themselves. And I looked into it. I thought it was really cool, loved it. But, 5 years ago, it just didn't take to me. And then about 2 years ago, something like that, started really researching it more and then doing my studies and immersing myself. And it fit. I'm an avid meditator and a belief in energy work before I started to practice. And I would work on these things and boundaries and work on these things to, help myself, first of all, and then being able to share that with others. The playing of the instruments came quite naturally because of my music background. And then the study of energy work and the study of connecting, again, because of what I was doing for myself beforehand, really was an extreme growth for me. And going forward with that, sharing it. And what I love about it is, like the symphony, every day is different. Every client is different. Every session is different. And there's no limit to growth.
The music is absolutely beautiful. It's haunting. It resonates. It elevates. It's just amazing.
I'm amazed. I'm playing it. I'm amazed. What I'm most amazed about is listening to my clients' testimonials after they finish the session. I check in with them at the beginning of the session, of course, to see where they are. And the other thing I love about it, I love doing one-on-ones, and we were doing groups before COVID. And then when the restrictions lifted, we would do groups outside, in a large, large circle, of course, with physical distancing in place. And just listening to them, and every time it's something extremely different, like they feel like they're floating, elevating. They go into a different realm. I just listen. They're just so relaxed. Because we humans, and especially we humans in the Western world, we just don't slow down. We don't slow down. We sleep. That's not slowing down. That gets us to delta state, where the sine waves, you're not getting benefits as much. You're getting rest, don't get me wrong, but when you're in theta and you're getting this meditative and you're getting this sound wave, this wave of brainwave that's so slow, and you're cognitive of it, you're conscious of it, it's just rejuvenating. And a lot of people have a hard time meditating. Well, with the sound bath, the tones of the bowls and the gongs, you're simply just lying there. And you don't work hard at relaxing. I've had some people that said it took them a while to set in, but they were, they had practiced a lot of being chatter in the brain. So I go through as much as you can do in 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of the session of when that happens. It's not that it's not going to happen, but when it happens, some different methods of what you can do to have the thoughts pass by, go around, but you don't have to hold them at this time. And you can learn the practice of you never have to hold them. Once again, it's not the fact that you're not going to have them, it's the fact that you don't have to hold them.
How did you get into meditation?
I think my father meditated, but I didn't know it. My father is one of my heroes. He's passed on. I never heard the man raise his voice. Amazing. Just amazed me. And I didn't say he didn't get upset. But I rarely heard him really get so animated that he would lose himself. And I would see this. We never talked about it. And I didn't recognize this really until I was in my 30s, maybe mid-20s, 30s. And then I would focus on different instances that, I would see him in. And then I started reading a lot of books about just the practice of calm, or the being able to, or choice. We always have choice, and people, don't believe that at times. And if you don't believe it, you kind of don't have a choice. It's just really true. So when you can get into the practice that even if it's 3 bad choices or 3 difficult choices, it's still a choice. No choice or no decision is a decision and a choice.
Absolutely.
So just diving into a lot of different books. I remember reading Acts of Faith by Jan van Zandt. This is in undergraduate school or something like that. And just really, again, the power of the mind. Uh, Wayne Dyer studied a lot of his methods, and it just, once again, just resonated so much with me because, as a kid, I did see turmoil, and I said, how can I? And then going away to college, I would see these families and kids that seemed like they didn't have that much turmoil. And I would hang out with their families. And I'm not saying they didn't have turmoil, but when I was around them and a family, I didn't see it. I said, oh, this is a way to live. Okay. What can I do to have a peace, a peace, or not creating a lot of things that are not true? Now, this is way later, when I started studying more in depth of what's true, what's not true, what's fact, what are the things we can't change, like, gravity, air, atmosphere, stuff like that. So they are solid. They are foundation facts. And then the things that we think that are not true. And if we're going to have a thought that's not true, why don't we have one that's positive instead of negative? And once again, being a performer in a symphony orchestra, practicing in a practice room for hours and hours on end a day, that's a meditation. I didn't realize that until, I correlated everything together. So that's a daily practice. So I've been doing this in different ways so many years. And when you learn to, and I've taken classes in peak performance with different instructors, because some people get nervous when they audition. And some of these guys, they would train athletes for Olympics. I mean, this is you got 4 years, you got one shot. you better put it all in, because you got to wait 4 years to do it again for the Olympics. And it's training your mind. It's training your mind and then doing it over and over again. I remember one study was this instructor, he had a kid, and I think the kid was in middle school, and he needed to take this test to place in high school. And this is in New York. And 31 weeks before, the test is always on a Saturday, and it's always at 9:00. So 31 weeks before the test, he would have his son go in, take this test every Saturday. Didn't study at all. You just go and take the test. And you get used to taking the test, and you'd learn things, but not study during the week. Just you'd learn by taking the test. So by week 31, this is not a new thing. It's just, this is what I do. And it's not shocking or whatever. It's just, and you excel at it because it becomes how you do it when you practice that often. It's, again, a practice.
No, I think mental training is really important. And I know for me, meditation has been absolutely game-changing. Mm. When you learn to watch your thoughts and realize they are only thoughts. And when you find that profound peace, I once had somebody say to me, but my mind is never quiet. I can meditate, but my mind's never quiet. And I thought, but you can get there. And when you do, wow.
Yes. Again, it's a lightness. It's an extreme lightness, because all of the thoughts that we allow to hang out and are not true, that's causing stress, pain, or whatever, it's a weight. It literally is an energy weight that becomes physical sometimes for us, and then may becomes emotional for us sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that there are some people that may have an imbalance and you need something more than just meditation. But for the most of us, it's a practice and a training of being your best friend, being kind to yourself. It's simply being kind to yourself. No one else gets to choose our thoughts. No one. And that's
being kind and getting to know yourself too.
Yes. Being honest with yourself that you can change. If there's something you don't like about yourself, and most of us have something, well, work on it. I mean, once again, that's your choice. And write things down to where, because you're going to forget them. Some of the most, well, I was going to say some of the most brilliant things I have thought. I don't know if they're brilliant, but but when I write them down, when I think of them, I can go back to it and actually work it out and actually grow on that. And then there's sometimes I think I'll say something that I really want to work on, and it's very seldom now that I won't write down and I can't get back to it. It takes me a long while to get back to it, and that's okay
I
too.
think when you write, no, I think when you write it down, you embody the emotion,
Yeah.
and it's the emotion you have to work with.
Yes. Yes.
Now, music is a portal to peace and a place of meditation, don't you think?
Absolutely. I am just elated that I get to do it. you know, I mean, every day I really am elated. Um, and the different facets that I get to do it and how. And I got asked to play an East Indian wedding in the summer. And I remember I read an interview with Steve Gadd. He says, anytime you can do something you never have done before, do it. I mean, that's just immense growth. So at first I said, let me find an East Indian drummer for you. That's what I told the party. It's just, and I looked him up and he says, I'm going to pass on it. And so I guess this means I'm supposed to play it. So call him back and yeah.
And how did it go?
It's upcoming in this summer 2021. So we'll see. I'm excited, very excited about it because I'm doing studies and playing the types of rhythms, and it's a processional, so that's the section of the wedding that I partake in. Yeah.
That'll be really fun. Now, you studied with Jeffrey Allen in terms of healing modalities. Talk a little bit about that because it plays right into the sound healing that I personally think sound is relatively unexplored in terms of its healing potential, particularly in the Western world.
Absolutely. Sound healing is a over 2,000-year-old practice in the East, and you said sound is a healing thing. Well, everything is energy, and when you play vibrations near water or in water, you see ripples. Well, what percentage of our body is water? Well over 90%.
What, 80% or something?
It's over 90%. So whether you feel it or not, music is healing, like you mentioned. Your body is vibrating when these vibrations are coming out in a performance, sound bath, anything that's like that. So it's energy work. That is the energy work that's happening with these vibrations inside your body, outwardly. Because once again, where does the ripple start in water? Does it start from the outside in or the inside out?
Inside out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just physics, basically. Mm-hmm. And I say it like, oh, it's just physics. We don't even have to think about it. And you really don't have to think about it in sound bath as a person coming in and partaking. And that's another thing I love about it. And I'm not taking anything away from any practices like yoga, massage, or whatever else. That all of those things work, but this one you can literally walk in, lie down, sit down, set up. I prefer people to be comfortable. I do say some people sit in lotus, some people lie down in shavasana, but you know what? If that's uncomfortable for you, I don't think you should do it. You need to get into a comfortable space for yourself. That's what the intent is, and you don't have to remember how to do something. You're literally just sitting and listening. Everything that happens after that, I'm amazed at, again, from the energy that is transformed from the bowls, from the gongs, into the atmosphere of the room, into the people, okay? And then working that vibration inside them out, and how they feel refreshed afterwards.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life. You can subscribe to our free podcast at www.bumpintheroad.us or become a premium member to hear the full conversation. Just go to www.bumpintheroad.us for more information and to sign up.